In this video, I'm going to show you why I believe you are probably on the treadmill to work till you drop unless you take responsibility for your own financial future. My experience and research has shown that the reason most people will work till they drop is because they're sitting back waiting for someone else to save them. They're waiting on a faceless fund manager or a union official at an industry super fund to deliver enough super for them to live on. They're waiting on the government to deliver a pension they can live on, or they're waiting on their parents or other family or even Lady Luck. But the sad reality is, for the majority of people, none of these will help people get off the treadmill of work until they drop. And I can show you why. First, let's start with superannuation. It's my personal opinion that the only real winners from the superannuation are the government, banks, and other finance companies and the unions. They have to be taking at least $20 billion of your money out of the system every year, and it's only going to get worse. That's why I firmly believe super will never be enough. And I can show you just by using some drinking glasses. Let's use this glass of water as an example of your annual income and superannuation. As we know, most people only ever save their compulsory superannuation every year. So they are spending 90% of their income every year. Putting this another way, you are drinking over 90% of your water every year, just leaving a small amount of water for your future. Now we know the government takes taxes out of your super, so you're left with just about a small amount of water in your glass every year, about 8% of your income. So let's say you started this at 20 and did it for 45 years. What would you end up with? Well, about 3.6 glasses of water. Now with luck, the returns of your superannuation fund are better than inflation. Big assumption, I know. Let's say your superannuation fund returned 2% above inflation each year. This would turn these 3.6 glasses into just under 6 full glasses of water when you want to stop working. So how long would these 6 glasses last? When you were working, you consumed about 90% of the water each year. Now you've stopped working, you may be able to spend a bit less. Maybe your house is paid off by now. So you may only need to spend about 80% of a glass of water each year. So after 7 or 8 years, no glasses left. Your superannuation finished. And those 7 or 8 years assumes you had 6 full glasses. What if you're a woman? I saw a survey recently that said women have about 65% of the super of men. So those 6 glasses of water turn into 4. And you want the really bad news? Women live longer than men, so less super to last longer. What if you're an overseas immigrant and started work in Australia at a later age? What if your health gave away, or you worked in a hard physical job? Could you continue to work for 45 plus years? And what about your mortgage? According to another study I saw, nearly 1 in 4 homes will still have a mortgage when the owner wants to retire. Your superannuation will be needed just to pay the mortgage off. All of these situations reduce the amount of superannuation you may have left when you want to stop working. So if this is you, chances are after 4 or 5 years, your super's all gone. Nothing left. On the pension, where's the golden future in that? And that's why I firmly believe your super will never be enough. Now, what about the pension? Let me start by asking you a question. Could you live on the pension anyway? Do you know that the pension for a couple, which is just over $35,000 per year, is less than 29% of the average annual wage for a couple and 49% of the minimum weekly wage? And what is more important, the pension for a couple is below the ASFA retirement standard for a comfortable retirement and below 2 poverty measures. And in respect of a single person, do you know the pension, which is just over $23,000 per annum, is less than 38% of the average annual wage for a single person and 64% of the minimum weekly wage. And once again, the pension for a single person is below the ASFA retirement standard for comfortable retirement and below 2 poverty measures. So I repeat the question, could you live on the pension? Don't believe me? Well, let's look at a real life example of Denise and David. Denise is 65 and was earning $45,000 before tax, about $39,000 after tax. David is 67, was earning $75,000 before tax, about $59,000 after tax, which is about the average weekly wage for a couple. Their current combined income after tax is about $98,000. They've decided to stop working and retire. The good news is that they're eligible for the pension and are planning to apply for it. So here is the bad news. When they stop working, Denise and David will experience a pay decrease of just under $63,000. That's a 64% pay cut from $98,000 to just over $35,000. Not a 5 or 10% pay cut. That's right, a 64% pay cut. So could you live on a 64% pay cut? I want you to take a second here. Think of your current income. Now, think about what sort of pay decrease you will experience when you stop working and go on the pension. And let's have a look at your family. There are a number of people who believe they'll be all right because their parents have a debt-free house that they'll inherit. I still remember one bloke saying to me with a straight face, he did not need to do anything to prepare for his future, as his parents were living in a $2 million house, and as the only child, he would get it all. That seems possible till you consider a couple of things that could happen. First, your parents, or at least one of them, may live longer than you think. What if one of your parents lived until their 90s or even older? You could be 70 or more before you get access to the estate. Also, have you told your parents your retirement strategy is them dying? How did that conversation go? Secondly, your parents could have health issues, which might result in huge medical bills, which could reduce the amount of money available. Your parents might even need to sell their house to move into an aged care facility. That's what my dad had to do, and I'm sure you've heard stories of how much that costs. All of this can eat into the money left to inherit. So you need to treat any inheritance you may receive as a bonus. You can't rely on this, as it may just be too late. Now, hopefully you can see for most people, they will stay on the treadmill to work till they drop, as their super, the pension or their family will not be enough to maintain the lifestyle they want and have been used to. Now, I have no problems if you want to work, but do you want to be in a situation where you have to work 5 or more days a week till you're 75 or even 80 because you need the money? Do you want to be in a situation where you can't tell your less experienced and wet behind the ears boss to shove it because you can't afford to get the sack? And that's why you need to take responsibility for your own future. And there is no better time than today to start taking responsibility. Why not make your New Year's resolution to accept responsibility for your own financial future and take action now to improve the health of your wealth so you can get off the treadmill of working till you drop?